Hey guys, welcome back to Heart Breathings. I have done some videos in the past on my plotting notebook and the different things that I take with me when I go to plot or how I use my stationery to outline, but I thought it was time for an update because I pretty much took a year off of writing. I won't say I exactly took it off, but I'll just say that while I was pregnant and the past 6 months, my baby is almost 6 months old. Next week, she'll be 6 months. I have not been writing as much as I typically would, or as much as I want to. And I'm so ready, both emotionally and just like career-wise, to get back on the saddle, so to speak, back on the typewriter, I don't know, and ready to start writing again. So one of the things that I love to do when I'm ready to like start a new project or I need that extra bit of momentum, because truthfully, there's a little bit of fear of like getting back into it. Am I really going to be able to write as fast as I used to? How am I going to balance everything? I'm also dealing with some postpartum anxiety and depression. So it's like, how am I going to be able to keep everything going and not fall into some of those like old traps of self-confidence and other issues that I've fallen into as a writer in the past? So I'm trying to really be supportive of myself, my mental health, my emotional state. And sometimes I've found that one of the tricks to getting myself into that mood of motivation and excitement and being back into it is, no surprise, stationery, which I know sounds silly, but for me, it really works. And it doesn't mean that you have to spend a lot of money, but it's just kind of like reimagining the things and the tools that you use as a writer. And for me, that really works, of like moving into a new plotting notebook, setting up some new plotting sheets, really thinking about my character sheets and the tools that I'm going to use, the pens and the highlighters and the markers and other things like that. And it's not that I've gone out and bought new stuff, but I have bought a few new things and I have reimagined my plotting notebook. So I'm excited to show that to you guys today. You can see I've kind of got all my stuff set up over here to start recording that for you. And thank you all for your feedback on enjoying the like white background underneath it, so you can kind of see things a little bit better. So hopefully you'll enjoy that today. So I'm excited to show you kind of how I have revamped my plotting notebook and all of the stationery that I'm using. Some of it you'll recognize from before and some of it will be new, in order to motivate myself to be writing again. I also have a freebie for you today that I developed and just like designed for myself as a way to help me keep on track and as a way to help me like really see my progress and how long it's taking me to go through each stage of the writing process. So I'm going to walk you through that, and I've got a link for you to be able to download that below. So let's get started. Okay, so this is my gorgeous new plotting notebook. I am still using a Happy Planner Deluxe cover. So this is just one of their big like faux leather covers that you can put a big Happy Planner into, and it just sort of slides into the back here. You can see it has a pocket and you just slide the back cover into the Happy Planner cover, and then it has some various pockets and things like that. So we're going to go over how all this looks. But basically, you can see, if you want to see the one I was using before, you can see it in this video. I will put it up in the cards here as well as down in the description box below. But I was using similar system, like an old Happy Planner, but I was using a cover that said the word hustle on it. It's a pink cover, and I like that cover, but I'm not a fan of the word hustle anymore because it just implies that you have to like work really hard and like work yourself to death. And right now, as a mom to a new baby and with the 7-year-old and everything else that I have going on, it's not about hustle. It's about joy and alignment and doing things that make me happy and that hopefully serve my community. So that word just didn't really align or go with where I am right now in my life. So I have switched binders. What happened was Happy Planner had a sale on their big deluxe covers, and they were only like $3.99. And so I said, okay, for $4, I'm going to get it. The kicker is that you still had to pay for shipping. So I ordered a few new things, and I'll show you kind of as I go. So basically I grabbed just the black deluxe cover, and it has this little black and white polka dot pattern inside. Then also at Michael's, I found this Big Plans decal that was in the clearance section, and it had this and another gold one that I can't remember in a 2-pack, and it was like 50 cents. cents. So I was super excited to find that because this black cover doesn't have any words on it or anything like that. So I just put the word Big Plans on there, and I think it looks really classy and really fun, and it'll match any kind of color scheme that I want to put into it. So that made me really happy. The other big purchase that I made to make this happen, or a couple of purchases, I bought these lavender metal discs because my branding and my covers and stuff is typically purple. So you can see this is like one of my like logos and my purple and white branding. So I thought, well, that's perfect. And it looks so nice with the Beautiful Demons cover art, which is, this is the cover art for my very first book called Beautiful Demons. So I thought that would be fun, but I really wanted to be able to make my own covers. So the other big purchase that I made for this kind of reimagine, and this one I did spend some money on, was this arc punch. I think it was like $49 on Amazon, which I know is pricey, but I also know that I'm going to use this a lot. So I was previously using the Happy Planner punch, and I was using the big one, which you can use for the classic and the mini size, and I really enjoy that punch. The problem is that punch does not do well with laminated covers, especially thick ones, and I've heard people say that they use their Happy Planner punch for that, but it just didn't work for mine. It always would get stuck. I almost broke the punch itself, and so I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So either I need to find someone that can make custom like Happy Planner covers for me, or I need to buy a better punch and some thicker laminating sheets. So I went with the punch so that I could do my own covers, you know, as much as I want in the future. But this was a pretty big expense. So if you can ever find the Arc punch, which is like Staples brand, for cheaper, snag it. If you ever find it on clearance at Staples, definitely get it. Then I was looking at potentially doing 10 mil laminating sheets, but to be honest, my laminator, which is a Scotch thermal laminator, it doesn't say that it's approved for the 10 millimeter sheets. So I just bought 5 mil. So this could be a little bit less flexible. It could be a little bit harder or sturdier like the traditional Happy Planner covers, but actually I'm pretty fine with how it turned out. So I bought some of those 5 mil plastic laminating sheets from Amazon and the Arc punch and the different little metal discs. And that's pretty much all I bought that was like new purchase. So like I said, this stuff was about 20 bucks and then this was about 50. So a little bit more money on this side of things. But let me walk you through kind of how I've set up my new plotting planner. So here in the front, you have basically just stuff that's decorative, but also nice to have out when I'm out planning, like at Barnes & Noble or Panera or somewhere else. Or even just in my house, I'll often take this up to the bedroom and I'll have the baby on my lap and be working in this plotting planner. So I basically just have a few little things here, like this is kind of cute right here. It says we are all made of stars, and then this little like crystal bottle. I snagged these from the digital dash box, and if you watch my monthly like planner setups, you know that I use the digital dash box from Planner Press. So this is from maybe like August of 2019 or 2018, maybe even, no, probably August of 2019, or it could have been sometime last year. I can't remember what month, but she did kind of a like space and crystal, like new age vibe, and I really loved that month. So I just pulled some things I had created for that month and just put them in here. Then I also have a few sticky notes that are from Michaels as well, that is just this little unicorn. This You Got This is another like sort of chipboard sticker that I got on clearance at Michaels for about 50 cents. This backing here where you see these flowers is from, it's like a acetate sheet from Simply Gilded subscription box. So I already had that kind of in my stash. I made this little bow myself. I sewed it together. There was a tutorial I watched here on YouTube, so I've been using that kind of over and over. I got this little Alice in Wonderland from an Etsy shop years and years ago. I don't even remember. But to get to the actual plotting stuff, because of course that's all mostly decorative, I have these teacher created resources dots. Now, if you watch my previous plotting planner setup, you've seen these before, but these are just, you know, round circular dots that are used usually on like activity charts or whatever in schools, but I use them for my color coding for my POVs. So I often write multiple POVs. My main series, I have 4 points of view and sometimes 5. In this series, I have a total of 8 points of view. So I thought it was perfect when I found these stickers that had 8 different colors. So I used them in conjunction with some Tombow dual brush pens in order to have a color code. And I'll show you how I use that in just a minute. Then I have another little stencil back here that came from the Michael's Recollection Planner stuff. And then in the back here, behind the pocket, I have lots of little things. So I have this little, I'll show that in just a second. So I have some washi tape stickers that I got also from Happy Planner. I've had these for years and I love taking these on the go because you can just take one sheet instead of taking like a whole roll of washi tape or whatever. And when I want to use them in my plotting planner, because I just like to keep things decorated and cute, I can just pull something off the sheet and pull it and tear it apart or whatever and have little page flags and things like that. So this was an entire like booklet, just like the Happy Planner sticker sheets. And I just pulled some of the sheets out that I've been using. Then I also have some little flags that I use sometimes, some sticky notes and that sort of thing here in the back. This little booklet here, if you want to see how I created this, I just made it out of index cards and washi tape. And if you want to see how I made this, this is a portable plotting notes booklet that I tend to carry with me when I can't carry the big thing. And I will show you exactly how I made these in a video that I will link for you down below. So look for that down below about how to make a portable plotting notes booklet. I got this idea from another channel here on YouTube. So I've linked to her channel underneath mine in that video. But this is basically, it's not set up right now. So if you want to see the setup, go watch that other video. But basically I can use this to put the different POVs in. So you can see the different colors of washi tape and keep my different plotting notes for each point of view in here, as well as my overall notes for the entire novel. And then when I'm ready to be like on the go, like I'm writing with my nano group and we just don't have room for everybody to have huge notebooks and laptops on the table, then I can just take this as my notes booklet. And I really love having this. Of course, it's not filled out because I just trashed my old one and I'm restarting this book. So I'll talk a little bit more of that in a second. Then this little sticker is for a group of friends that are in a Facebook group with me. So that's kind of a little personal thing there. I have a little Happy Planner set of sticky notes that just clips onto the discs. And then we get into the actual planner itself. So I started out with my Beautiful Demons cover because I felt like that is perfect for a plotting planner. And you'll see as I go through that every time I have a new book, I have separated it out with the book cover of the book I'm actually working on. So this one's just like the overall cover, and then I've got kind of dividers for each book. But since each one of these books is not finished yet, I haven't revealed any of the covers. So you guys are going to see a little bit of them, but not the full reveal of the covers yet. So Fate's Surrender is the book that I'm currently working on. It is book 3 of my Eternal Sorrow series. I have been working on this book for well over a year and a half now, and just had a lot of struggle with it when I was pregnant, and now, you know, not really sleeping well and struggling with some postpartum depression stuff has been really difficult to get back into it. But I'm finally starting to like come up for air, and I feel like I'm ready to really work on this book. And I have a rough draft that's about 65,000 words, and I'm just not happy with it. It just doesn't feel like it's coming together. I feel like I need to just kind of start over, and I'm sure I'll use a lot of the words that I already have, but I'm gonna approach it with a fresh mindset. So I'm starting the plotting process over, I'm starting all my notes over, and we're gonna see if that will help me rather than trying to like pick up where I left off a long time ago to like kind of get back into it. So I just printed out a page with the book cover on it. And then if you've watched any of my plotting stuff, like how I was getting ready for Nano and how I edit my novels and stuff, you've seen this spread before because I already had created this, but this is an old Happy Planner sheet, and I just whited out the lines and I'm using it for my plotting. So I've got those same little colorful dot stickers here to indicate the different points of view. My word count goal is 95,000 words. I also am going to stick a book cover up here, but I've changed the book cover since the last time I was plotting, so I need to just change it out. And then I'm going to put like the first part of Act 1, the second part of Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, and Part 2. Then the midpoint of the novel will be here, and then the second half of Act 2 will go here, and then Act 3 in this final column. And that's the way I like to use these Happy Planner things, because the Act 3 is usually the shortest. Act 2 kind of comes in 2 parts, and this works out really well for me to keep it separated. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll put, like, if Parish is the first chapter, I'll put a purple dot here, and then just a quick like note about what happens in that chapter. And then as the novel fills out, I'll be able to, you know, move those things around. I used to, and I'll show you in another part of this book, how sometimes I will use sticky notes so that I can move them around. So I probably will be pulling out some sticky notes to work on this plot now that I'm working on it all over again. Then I just taped on the back of this, since there would be another piece of like Happy planner sheet, I just taped a dot grid sheet on the back. This is also something that is brand new, and I actually have this as a free download for you down below if you're interested in it. I just made it for myself to try to help me keep track. So what this is I'm calling it the HB writing tracker, like Heart Breathing's writing tracker, where you can put the title of your book, the word count goal that you're reaching for, so like 95,000 words you're hoping it's going to be, or whatever. Then in this column you write the date. So if I was starting today, I would say 2/28/20. The phase is outlining. So the phase could be outlining phase, the rough draft phase, the first editing pass phase, beta reader phase, whatever the phase of writing you're in or stage, you can write that here. Then you can write your progress for the day. So if it was 2/28, phase is outlining, I could put how many hours I worked, or I could put how many words I wrote, or if, since it's an outline, I could say that I got through Act 1, and then I'm gonna put some notes down here. Now personally, one of the things I'm gonna include in the notes is how much time I spent on it this day. So I'm going to put like, you know, 1.5 hours or 1 hour and 28 minutes or whatever, because I want to keep track of how long each phase of the writing process is taking me right now. So in my notes, I'm going to put the time. If you decide to use this, you can use that slot however you want, but I'm probably going to say something along the lines of like, finished the first act plotting, it went really well. I'm going to put kind of how I felt about it. It was really easy, or I got very distracted. And then in the bottom corner of each notes section, I'm going to write how long I spent on it. So I've got a lot of sheets of that types of columns so that you can put exactly what you were working on, how long it took you, and that sort of thing. And you have basically 5 pages of those notes, but if you wanted to and you needed it, you can always print out more because they've just got the back-to-back sheets. So say like by the bottom of this page, you were already into the rough draft phase, but that took you a long time. Then you've got the editing phase, the publishing phase, you know, whatever it is. And then you needed more sheets, you just print these out again and insert them in to your notebook. Then this final spread here is basically kind of like where you keep track of how it went over the course of writing. So you can say the first writing phase was the outlining phase. My goal start date was 2/28, but I actually started on 2/29. Then my completion date was, let's say I finish it by 3/10. So I would write the day I completed it. So then I would go from the actual start date to the date of completion and calculate how many total days. So if I started on 2/29 and went to the 10th, then I worked 11 days. So I would write 11 total days. Then over here, I could say my target word count was, you know, 95,000 words, and my actual word count was, you know, whatever. So when I'm talking about the outlining phase, I'm not going to have a word count. So I'll just put a slash through that. But then next I would go to the rough draft phase, and I would say when I had hoped to start it, when I actually started it, when I finished it, and how many days it took me. Then I could say my target word count was 95,000 words, but my actual word count ended up being, and then I would put exactly what the word count was, 98,323 words or whatever it is. Then over here, I would put how many hours I invested. And the only reason I'm going to know that is because I've been keeping track of it in the notes section. So if you don't track your hours, you won't be able to fill this out. So that's why I'm suggesting, I guess I could go back potentially in this progress section. You know, I could leave a place for how much time it took you on that date, but I'm going to just leave it as is for now, and I might change it later after I've been using it for a while. I literally just created this last night. So hours invested, and then notes. So I could say, wow, this outlining phase took me a lot longer than I expected, and here's where the distractions came in. Then on the rough draft, I could say, you know, I really ran into a hard spot during the midpoint where I blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to keep track of all of that. And sample writing phases down the side here might be outlining, the rough draft stage, first pass, first edit pass, second edit pass, third edit pass, because for me those are all kind of different phases, and I don't always do 3 rounds of edit, but just in case, so I might name them something different. Then down here it might be final read through phase, then beta reader phase and how long that took, then ARC reader phase or publishing phase or formatting phase and all of that sort of thing, maybe even marketing plan and how long that took me to come up with. So this is kind of going to be a work in progress to see how I end up using this sheet, but I think that over time, if I use something similar to this for all of my novels moving forward, and I have this sheet that tells me how long it really took me, like how many hours and how many days it really took me for each stage of the writing process, that's going to help me to better estimate how long it takes me to finish a novel in the future. And I'll be able to actually try to like compete against myself in a way and say, well, last time it took me, 80 days to write the rough draft. Let me see if I can mark that down to 70 days, knowing that this is where my distractions and my problems came in. Here's how I can fix it and get better at it. But it'll also help me, like if you guys are aware of my HB90 system, a lot of that is based on estimating how long something's going to take you. Or like if you did the writing schedule for 2020 with me, a lot of trying to figure out your writing schedule is all about how long and estimating how long it's going to take you to finish a novel. So I'm hoping over the course of this year, after writing 2 or 3 books, hopefully by the end of the year, I'm going to have some really good data on how long it actually takes me to finish a book. So if you would like to use this download, go ahead and grab it in my HB resource library. If you're on my mailing list, you already have a link to the HB resource library, and all of my resources, including the plotting pages I'm going to go over next, are in that resource library. If you're not on my mailing list, then there's a link down below for how to join it, and you will get access to that library as well. Okay, so then I have a writing plan here, which is something similar. This is an older one, and this is also in the resource library. Title, word count goal, words per day goal, and then I also have the goal and actual starting date for all of these things, like when I want to have my plotting completed, my rough draft completed, edits completed. So I think that this will go well with this other sheet. So there's that sheet. Then there's a word count tracker. And again, this is also in the HB resource library for free for you guys. And how you use this is you write the date, and then you write, how much you got in this sprint. And so if you're going to just do one sprint, you would fill it out all the way across. So you would say today's date 228, sprint 110 words. Today, 110 words. My total is however much you have total in your manuscript. But if you're going to do like 5 or 6 sprints, you would just say the date, and then you would just not fill out. I would fill out the date here and then draw a line through the next 5 sprints or whatever. Then each sprint, I would write how much I got for that sprint. So each individual sprint. And then once the day is over and I'm done with all my sprints, I would mark here like what my total was for the day of all the sprints, and then my total for the manuscript. So as I go through this sheet, some of these, like today's, are not going to be filled out because that's going to be the total, but all of the sprint ones should be filled out. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys want to see it actually in use, let me know and I'll do another video. And of course, I'm going to need more than probably just this many sprints to finish the book, so I'll probably print it out and put it back in here as well. Okay, so then I get into the different actual part of my plotting notes. And I have just printed out some dot grid paper that I got off of Etsy. It's just a download, and I can link that for you down below as well. And I sometimes will do like what my plan is. You can see I already messed this one up because I was trying to get the book done by the 28th, and here we are and it's not finished. So that will probably just get thrown away. But you can see how I use these like washi tapes and stickers to just kind of make my notes look more interesting, which then kind of breaks them up a little bit and makes them easier to read and reference. Then I'm also currently doing a reread of Death's Awakening, where I'm making notes about things that happened, and as it comes to me, like as I'm reading, if I get any ideas about what's going to happen in the final book in the series, then I've been making notes on that. So I'm reading it and my husband is also reading it. Then I've got just some plain dot grid note pages and more notes and brainstorming stuff. So again, you can see how I use like different pen colors and tags or flags and washi tape to kind of just make that look better. It makes me happy, not necessary, but I enjoy it when I'm making notes in my planner. Then I have this little sheet where I was making some notes about the plot and how it's gonna go. So I keep kind of all my notes in one place, because it used to be when I was plotting, I would put notes all over the place. I'd have some notes in my phone, I'd have some notes on sticky notes, some notes on note cards. So with this, I just can put all my notes either right here inside this plotting planner or inside this little notebook. And then if I put it in here, I usually try to transfer it to this or keep it tucked in here. So that way I know exactly where my notes are and it all works out. Then I've got my plotting sheets. So if you're not familiar with my channel, I have an entire series on how to plot your novel that came with a free download of basically all the things I was talking about and the structure that I use to plot my novel. So I've basically just printed out that printable 8 times for each of my 8 points of view. And then I used a little sparkly washi tape flag to indicate and make tabs for each of those points of view. I also put a little bit of washi tape on the bottom of each of these. So I had filled some of these out and thrown them out, and now I'm kind of starting over. So I've started over with Parish, and what I do with multiple POV, I'm going to have another video coming up soon on multiple POV, is I fill out these sheets for each point of view as much as I can. So I've got Parish, I've got Noah, I've got Carmen, and you can see it's not filled out yet because I threw a lot of this stuff out and I'm kind of starting over. Crash, the boy, Zoe, the witch, and the dark one. So these are all my plotting sheets that hopefully will be filled out soon. I'm going to work on a lot of this weekend. Then I also have a bunch of these sheets that are kind of like sort of my 3-act structure sheets. So it's similar in setup to that main sheet that I talked about with Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, Part 2, and Act 3. That's exactly what I do here. Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, the second half of Act 2, and then Act 3. So it's kind of 3-act structure, but sort of in 4 pieces. And this is sort of like my practice run for what's going to go on these bigger sheets, because I like to print several of them. And again, this is in that free download for you. I like to print several of them and then kind of play around with, well, what about moving this scene here? What about moving this scene here? And it feels less permanent. So I have lots of those printed out as I'm working through the plotting. And then I have all my older notes still in here. So these are notes from last year that I took and am still kind of taking into consideration. But just design wise, you can kind of see how I like to set up my story notes with different washi tapes and different stickers to just kind of make it look nice. But I'm also making notes of like different story threads I need to carry through, things that are happening in the story, major plot points that I'm considering, and that sort of thing. So that's for Death's Awakening series, or the Eternal Sorrow series, where I'm working on the final book. Then the next book that I've got in here is Vengeful Darkness. And again, I haven't done the cover reveal, and this is not actually book 12. This should be book 11. My cover artist has recently changed that. And here I've got that same writing plan that I was working on before. And then I've got my notes pages sort of clipped off because this series is already a 10-book series and there's a lot of spoilers in my notes. So I'm not going to even show you guys those. But when I'm ready to start working on this, like right now, I just have this section full of basically dot grid or blank sheets to be able to jot down notes as I go through, like, okay, I'm going to add to this. Oh, I got this one idea. But when I get ready to work on this book and this book is finished, I will pull all of these sheets out and save them in an old Happy Planner. And what I'll do is I will set up these same types of plotting pages with the flags for this book, because this book is going to have actually 5 points of view. So I have a special color code for those as well. And I'll set up all of those plotting sheets and print them out. But right now I don't have enough space, since this book has 8 points of view, to put those 8, these 5, and then all the ones for this final book. So right now I've got this one. Then over here, I've got The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw, another cover that hasn't been revealed. This is another book I'd really like to have out by summer, but I'm just not sure if I'll have time. So I've got my writing plan, and then I've got notes that from when I started working on this book last year. And here you can kind of see that I use some sticky notes here and there. So here I've got that same type of Happy Planner plotting sheets, and I'm using sticky notes to kind of leave notes for myself when I'm not ready for it to be kind of like permanent notes yet. I also have those same character journey and plotting sheets for this book, as you can see here. So then I've got same kinds of notes, and you can see very similar type of style with different washi tapes and stickers and things like that. And yeah, so I've got a lot of this stuff filled out, and I even have some notes here about another book that will be part of that sort of horror standalone series called The Haunting of Luna Day. So I've got notes for that book in here as well. Then I just have some random Happy Planner sheets that I use for checklists. and in the back, more notes on a book I was reading by K.M. Weiland called Creating Character Arcs, which is amazing, and I can link that down below for you. So I like to take notes so that I can go back and kind of remember what she said about it. So I've kept those notes in here so that I can reference them. And then the final thing is I just have a Wrong Happy Planner sticker book in the back here so that I can use these stickers as I'm planning. And there's a perfect little pouch here to put that and slide it into the back and be able to use it. Then I also am just using this Emily Lay Happy Stripe pen, kind of stays with this notebook. So that is my newly updated plotting planner, and I am excited to kind of dig back into plotting this book and getting started on it. And I'm also really excited about taking the time, this is something I've been wanting to do forever, to actually mark down how long each phase of the process is taking me and have a complete set of notes and data for how long it took me to finish the book. And I'm hoping this will be helpful, not only for me, but for you as well. And if you do end up using this, please let me know, and feel free to go tag me over on Instagram if you print this out for yourself, so that I can see how you're using it. So my Instagram is @heartbreathingsblog, and you can use the hashtag heartbreathings. So, all right, guys, that is a look at my plotting planner. And just in case you were curious, I did make these little ribbon bookmarks as well, these little ribbon paper clips, and all I did was take a regular gold paper clip and some stray ribbon and just looped it through, and that's all I did. So these are super easy to make if you have any little bits of ribbon. So, all right. Okay, so that's it for our inside look at my new plotting tools and my new plotting notebook. Like I said, if you want to download that HB writing tracker, you can get it down below by signing up for my mailing list, or if you're already on my mailing list, I have sent you a fresh link to my HB resource library today, where you can download all of my freebies that I've included on this channel, including the HB writing tracker there. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you'll find that useful, and let me know how your writing is going. Comment down below and let me know what you're currently working on and how your novel is going. I'd love to hear more about it. If you are not subscribed to this channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you'll be notified when new stuff comes up from me. I also have a writing sprint group where we are going to be doing some virtual writing retreats, and we're getting into the habit of having some daily motivation and some weekly writing sprint time. So if you'd like to join us, there's a link to join that writing sprint group down below. We'd love to have you over on Facebook as well. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing weekend. I will be back on Sunday with my HB Notebook Challenge for March, so I will see you then. Bye.